it rained a little bit. What do you think, Mox? Been raining real light for the last couple of hours, I suppose. And we got some rain before that. We have been in the field just a little bit. We're supposed to get possibly 2 to 3 inches of rain between now and tomorrow night. Right now it's not doing much. Temperature I think is about 60 degrees, something like that. It's just a misty, wet day right now. And I need to get the green truck out of here, gonna move the project truck in here. Gonna change the transmission fluid on the project truck. Hopefully that will take care of that shutter issue that I think that's what it is. I think it's a torque converter. I think it's torque converter shutter, and I've been told that can happen, especially if it's been sitting for a long time with old fluid. And I've been told by many people, do a fluid change, filter change. That should take care of the problem. So I got one light set up over here, the little light that I used to have that I could actually get under the truck and show things. Decided to quit working, so that's what I have to deal with, that and flashlight, which looks like I left over here again. So I'll get under here and I'll show you what I did. And this does have a torque converter drain plug in it, so that's a good thing. But if I can show this, that's the inspection plug. That's the inspection plug that came out of right there. And if I can get both hands over here. And right up in there is the plug, which takes an 11mm socket. So I'm going to unscrew said drain plug and drain the torque converter out into the oil pan. As you can see, that's going to take a little while. Here's the drain plug that came out of that, and I am going to put him right over here for now. Don't really want to lose that. Actually, I think I'll put it in this one. You know, I got these magnetic trays. I probably got them 2 or 3 years ago, and I hardly ever use the things. And I don't really know why, because they do an excellent job of keeping your bolts, nuts, washers, anything metallic in one spot. So I'm just going to slide this under the truck so when I take the pan bolts out I can drop them right in there too. But I'm going to let the torque converter finish draining out, then I'll get the pan off of this thing. Well, the torque converter is still draining out. It's not coming out extremely fast out of that little hole, but I will have to say the fluid coming out of that sure looks a lot better than what came out of the transfer case. It actually looks pinkish red. So I caught a little bit of that fluid coming out of the torque converter in a bottle and dumped it into this bucket. This bucket had some crud in the bottom of it, but it not quite as pinkish red as I thought it was. So it's probably been 10 minutes and it's still draining out of there, kind of a glug now. I think the sound of that is putting somebody to sleep. I'm going to do a little repositioning under the truck with things to catch fluid, and I'm going to start taking the bolts out of the pan. The camera just doesn't pick it up very good under here, and it's kind of hard to record, but I'm going to start taking all these bolts out of the pan. Probably going to take every other one of them out and then go back around, take the other ones out, drop the back of the pan down, and drain the fluid out. So I managed to get the pan and the filter out. I'm not sure how old this filter is. I thought it'd have a date code on it, but I don't see anywhere except that top line. I don't know if you can see it. It does have 1996 in the middle there. Could be. I got the pan out and haven't cleaned it up at all yet, but the magnet down here, it's got a little bit of stuff on it, but I've seen worse. it's really not too bad. Especially if the last time it was changed was in 1996. But really, I'm kind of impressed with how little is actually on this magnet. Sometimes they're so furry you can't hardly see them. But I got everything out. It's still dripping. I'm gonna let it drip for quite a while, and I made quite a mess also. I was really trying not to do that, and everything was going really well. I almost had the pan down, and I slipped. It made a mess. But that's okay, messes clean up. Not much has changed out here. It's actually fairly nice out right now. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I think I'm about ready to peel the sweatshirt off. I'm getting rather warm. It's supposed to start raining sometime, but so I'm just going to let that finish draining completely. Slap the new gasket on the pan, bolt it back up. We're gonna fill this thing full of fluid, and hopefully that shutter is gone. I have been told sometimes it's instant, sometimes it takes driving not very long, a few miles, 5-10 minutes maybe, but it should go away. If that doesn't work, I have been told of one more trick that I might have up my sleeve to solve that problem. And if that doesn't work, it looks like possibly a new torque converter, which I really don't want to do. The two things I wanted when I got a project truck was a good engine, good transmission. I didn't want to have to do any engine overhauling type of work or have to drop the transmission out. So one thing you want to be careful of when you take the filter out, right here, this is the part that goes up into the transmission, and it is supposed to come out and have this piece down on it. Just like that one. This can stay up in there where the neck on the filter goes up into the transmission. I got up in there with a little screwdriver and it'll pop right out. So I have the transmission pan back on, also put the plug back in the torque converter, which reminds me I need to put that inspection plug back in. It's like something blew up under my truck. Made a little bit of a mess, but it's worth it if it gets fixed. My only thing right now is I don't know exactly how much fluid to put back into this thing. I think they hold like 16 quarts or something like that. If I had to guess how much came out, which I didn't measure it, some of it's on the floor, but if I had to guess, I would say between 12 and 14 quarts came out of it. So I posted that question up on OBS Revolution. Should have an answer shortly. I'd at least like a good starting point, and then I can slowly top it off from there. Well, I took the truck out for a drive. I got another mess to clean up. But I took her out for a drive. I really thought I had it fixed. It sat there and idled, and it was pretty darn smooth. Took it out for a drive, and I don't think it made any difference. I do have one more trick up my sleeve, which it'll have to wait till tomorrow. So I'll catch you tomorrow, which will be in about 2 seconds. And boom, it is the next day. Get some light on out here. Got something for the truck. As I just mentioned last night, which was probably just a second ago, what I believe to be torque converter shutter didn't go away. When I had it sitting in here running, and it was sitting in here running for quite a while, it did seem to be sitting there idling just smooth as could be. But when I took it down the road, the vibration was still there. I think it's just as bad as it was before I changed the transmission fluid. And it is a wet, soggy day. They just issued a flash flood watch for here for the next 20 hours, I believe. We could get more than 3 inches of rain in the next day or so. Might keep us out of the fields just for a little while. So I'm gonna get this girl fired up. Let her idle down here. There we go. And I don't know if you can see that or not, how it's, if I put the camera right on the steering wheel, how it bounces a little bit and shakes. And the engine even rocks just a little bit. However, I looked at the transmission mount, it's fine. I looked at the motor mounts, they seem to be fine. I suppose they could be getting a little weak, but they seem to be okay. And when you sit there, put your foot on the brake, shift it between reverse, neutral, and drive, one way or the other, doesn't seem to be any worse. I think the motor mounts are okay. I'm no expert on the subject, but they seem okay to me. So what I picked up for this truck, and I've been reading about this online, is this, which is Dr. Tranny Instant Shutter Eliminator. And that is exactly what it is for torque converter shutter. My understanding, a lot of transmission shops use that. I'm not a big fan of using any kind of oil additives or anything like that, but from what I've been reading online and even seen some videos of it, this stuff is pretty highly recommended. I'm not exactly sure what's in it. It's a friction modifier of some sort, and it's a 2-ounce tube, and you just dump this into your transmission, and a lot of people say it does pretty much work instantly. Other people say it takes a little bit of driving around, but a lot of people have had torque converter shutter simply disappear by using that little 2-ounce tube of stuff. So right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm gonna give it a try and see what happens. I'm not sure if you're supposed to put it in when the transmission's warm or cold, or if it makes any difference. On the tube of stuff, it says empty entire tube into transmission. Doesn't say whether it needs to be hot or cold. I've read people do it both ways. I thought maybe I'd just let it get warm. This opened up here, and that's all it is. So I guess you just snip or twist or something this end off, and you pour it in the transmission, and everything magically starts working the way it's supposed to. Well, took it out for a drive, and I don't believe there to be any difference. I drove it for, I don't know, a little bit, not too much, but I don't notice any difference whatsoever. So I'm not sure what to think with the engine. I mean, the engine rocks just a little bit back and forth, if you can see that. Like I said, when you put it in gear, you put it in drive, even give it gas, put it in reverse, do the same thing. The engine doesn't seem to, rock one way or the other. I can't really think that's what it is. Could be a harmonic balancer problem. It looked okay. Maybe I need to take it completely off. I don't know. Let me shut this thing off. The only other thing I can think of is there is something going on with the brakes. Like I said, they work, but the pedal is almost on the floor. And it's not leaking anywhere, so I'm kind of believing it might be the master cylinder. When I picked it up, the fluid was way down. So I imagine it could have got some air in there, maybe some seals somewhere got dried out. I don't know, but that might need to be replaced. And maybe it's just a coincidence that when it starts vibrating like that, and I just barely touched the brake pedal, the brakes aren't coming on, because they don't currently come on until, like I said, the pedal's almost on the floor, which made me think it's the torque converter unlocking, causing the vibration to go away. But maybe it's just a coincidence, and something is going on when I'm just barely touching the brake pedal, just enough where a brake releases or moves a little something. However, that's not making a lot of sense either, because going down the road, when it's vibrating at its worst, if I drop it into neutral, the vibration also goes away. And the check engine light came on again while I was out driving, but it didn't stay on. It went back off, but it doesn't like something somewhere. So I have a little more investigating to do. So I read some codes here just a few minutes ago, and here's what we're looking at. We're looking at, with the engine off, key on code 565 Canister purge solenoid circuit fault. 332, insufficient EGR flow detected. With key on engine on. 311, thermactor air system fault during engine self-run test. I'm not sure what a thermactor air system fault is. So there seems to be something going on with the EGR, which I'm not sure what codes I was getting before. I know the EGR was one of them, and that thermactor air system fault or whatever was another. And I cleared all the codes out a few days ago, so they have returned. If any of you have any idea what might be going on here, leave it in the comments below. So, have a little research to do, look some things up on those codes, what's going on, and try a few things out. But give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.